What's up everyone, Dan here from SteadyRest Metalworks in Chicago, Illinois. For today's job, we're scraping the back of the knee and fitting it to the column for the Bridgeport rebuild. I'm gonna pan you over to see what the back of the knee looks like right now because we haven't touched it yet. So I'll give you a brief on what it looks like and what we're gonna do. Whenever we work on a vertical slide like this, we have to think about how gravity is going to affect wear over time. Now, on the knee, the front end of the knee is going to tip down because of gravity, and so the bottom is going to wear faster because this is going to dig in. In conjunction with that, the center of the knee is always relieved at the factory in this pocket and in this pocket. So these two pads never make contact. These are air gaps so that these surfaces make contact and these surfaces make contact. So what we're gonna do is take a skim cut on everything and we're gonna hog out these middle areas so that we have a relief so that when we glue this up, we're gonna get contact here and here. I'm gonna use a power scraper for this because we're scraping this slide vertically and it's kind of awkward and we have a good bit of material to take away. Because we do need to rough out this relief area in the middle, I'm just going to mark it so that I know what to take off when I'm actually scraping. We're going to start roughing in the flats on the surface plate because it'll help get us into the right ballpark before we start fitting the back of the knee to the column. We took a first rub and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Spoiler alert, it doesn't look good. This top corner, there's a razor thin bearing up on this edge. Nothing, absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing. And then one shiner right there in the corner. And the other side, pretty much mirrored. There's razor thin bearing on this outside edge. Absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing. No bearing at all on this bottom. This one shiner is holding everything up. And so we have to scrape this corner, and that corner. We have the knee on the granite plate, and I want to check and see how square these flats are off the plate, just roughly, before we start matching the bottom of the knee, or I'm sorry, the back of the knee to the column. So we're going to check squareness really quick just to see if we're in a ballpark. This is the indicator setup we're going to use. This is an interrapid half thousandths test indicator on a mag base on a block that's ground with a radius on it. So it'll sit in the flat, and we'll just ride up and down with the indicator on the square, referencing our squareness. Zero on the bottom. Plus 1.5 at the top. 0. About 1.5 plus. Almost 2. 0. On the indicator, it was showing this is 0 and this is 1.5 thousand plus. That means that the top of the knee is leaning in. So there's more pressure on the indicator, and this is plus. It already being 1.5 thousand plus up here is good, because when we scrape these in, we want this to be 1,000 plus and 0. Because of gravity, what'll happen is the outside of the knee is going to want to cantilever down towards the ground. So in order to combat that, we make this 1,000 plus, so that as it sags, it settles into being 0, 0. After 3 or 4 cuts roughing it in on the surface plate, we have bearing coming in on this pad and on this pad. We have a little bit of bearing coming in over here. This is all empty. And we have bearing coming in on this pad. We know the squareness is 1.5 thousandths in the right direction, so I'm going to go ahead and stop roughing this in on the surface plate, and we're going to roll over the column and start fitting it to the column. Now that the column's rolled over, we're going to start bluing up the back of the knee to it so that the flats on the knee are a perfect match to the flats on the column. Now that the bearing is coming in, we're going to check squareness directly off the column in the same way we did off the surface plate.
Ay caramba, knee gets heavier and heavier.
In this case, we're using a different square that has a smaller base that'll fit better on the column.
So we need to eyeball this to be centered on the blade. Okay, we'll call that 0. About 1,000 plus. Zero. Half thousand plus. Okay. So the square is showing us that the knee is 0 at the bottom and plus 1,000 at the top. I want this to be plus 1,000. We still have a good bit of bearing to scrape in, so I'm not so worried about that 1,000 right now. I'm just going to keep scraping in bearing, and I'll try to bias it a little bit more in the opposite way that I scraped it before, so that when the bearing comes in, we'll get that 1,000 back.
We know we're within a half a thousand. Our bearing is looking better, so I'm going to put down the power scraper and start hand scraping in combination with really light blue, just so we attack those really high points. Zero. Plus one. And back to zero. That's great. Zero. Plus one. Zero. So that's a wrap on fitting the back of the knee to the column and checking square. I'm happy how these parts turned out. They're matched to each other, the bearing looks good, and the squareness is right where we want it. Like and subscribe, check out our other videos, and stay tuned for the next one where we match the master dovetail on the back of the knee to the column. Thanks for watching. Hi.